If you ever thought, why did they go with someone else? After submitting a proposal, this episode is for you. It wasn't just the price, it wasn't just the client's budget. There's a deeper reason planners win or lose big event contracts. Today, we're breaking down exactly how to make sure your next proposal puts you at the top of the list. So we're incredibly fortunate at CSI to see a lot of winning proposals.
Yeah.
So when we're looking at those proposals, Cara, I'll go to you first. What do you look for when you're seeing those winning proposals?
So I have the pleasure of looking at a lot of the proposals before they go out for a variety of different clients. And, we custom curate every single one of them. And we try to tell a story that really aligns with that exact program, not any program that company could be having, like literally what's exactly what they're trying to do in this one particular program. So everything from the event experience all the way through the transportation. It's how are we accomplishing the goals all along the way with great visuals, video when possible, and really, telling the story without being covered in words either, right? So it's like that perfect balance between words, visuals, and like more of that deep dive video experience, I think is really what we're seeing most successfully, especially on some of those bigger kind of mega programs that have a lot of different components that we're trying to cover a lot because, candidly, our clients don't want to read 100 pages of craziness. But we might have 100 pages worth of stuff to say. So it's how do we find that balance and really curate something just for them? And that's I think what I look for every time I look at a proposal. Ashley, you've been a creative services manager on our team.
I wore that hat once, yes.
You wore that hat well. I worked with you on a couple projects and you did a great job. Mm-hmm. Tell us about your thought process and how you drove the proposal. And I saw a proposal that you supported recently. I mean, it was really, really creative.
Yeah, I think the key is you're trying to tell a story, right? That's kind of the way that I approach a creative proposal writing. You're trying to tell a story about what the guests are going to experience. And again, showing versus telling. It's that, less is more in terms of the words and the summary, but also creating a really dynamic, interactive proposal that people can dive into. I've seen a lot of success and I've gotten a lot of feedback from clients when they see a proposal and the information is presented to them, but they kind of have an opportunity to choose a little bit of their own adventure, right? I'm going to click here and learn about this a little bit more. I'm going to deep dive into this thing. I'm going to watch this video. It feels like it's really jumping off the page. I think that's really important. I think the key to me is we have to remember most of the time we're reaching our clients digitally. Right? We have a really great opportunity to meet our clients in person once they kind of get to that decision-making process. But our first initial stab at winning them over is in a digital landscape. So how do we communicate that? And I think that's the key, is really just thinking about the storyline. How do we want to tell the story? What are we going to really showcase that the guests are going to experience? You don't want to feel like it's a bullet pointed list. You want it to really feel like it's a flow of what the experience is going to look like.
Really like that. So then when you've kind of told the story to the client, what happens then? Let's say you send in the proposal and you don't hear anything back. What do you do? What do you tell the event planners that are watching? How do we go to the next step? How do we make sure that they're responding? How do we get them to come with us?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think there always has to be a little bit of a call to action when you send a proposal, right? There's a little bit of a, not necessarily urgency, but just a sort of, not an expiration date either, but something kind of halfway in between where you're saying, here's all this curated content we've created for you that really we're excited about. And we want to talk you through it. And we want to help you dive even deeper and make sure that, everything that we've put into the digital content comes and makes sense to you, right? So our next step is always, can we get on the phone and walk through it together, right? Can we do a video call? Can we do it in person? What's going to make sense for, where they're based or what their timeline is? And also set some expectations. What are some deadlines coming up, right? Because we may be a year out or we may be 3 months out, and it could be just the same size and scope of program. And those deadlines are going to look very different for us to be able to curate all these special moments for them. Sometimes we need 2 months, 3 months to build these custom pieces and do all of it. And we need to outline that right in that first call to action in the body of the proposal when we're sending out, the body of the email when we're sending out a proposal. So I think it's important to not just send an email that says, please find attached, right? Like that's gone are the days.
Yeah.
You have to put a little bit more in there to say, check this out. let us check it out together and talk about what you like, what you don't like, and what works. But I think the bigger question is when they're not responsive, to your point, what do you do? How do you get them to respond? Because we spend a lot of time on these proposals, and we know that they're reviewing sometimes, or maybe they got 3 proposals for the same event. But Ashley, what have you had success in? Because you've also been on the sales side.
Yeah.
So many hats.
I forgot about that stint. No, I think from a sales side, it's getting that meeting to be able to walk them through, or even just having the conversation of where are you in the decision making process, and what else can I follow up with you to provide a bit more information? Because I think sometimes clients feel like we send the proposal, and then if it's not an immediate follow up call or a meeting, there's kind of this lag time in between. And I think showing them that like we understand that this is a proposal process. It isn't something that's going to necessarily be an all or nothing. We can really give them the opportunity to be interactive and maybe provide us some feedback, or, hey, I'd like a little bit more here, or I'd like to dive in a little bit further onto this piece, or, my CEO has this wild idea around this. I'd love to kind of start conceptualizing it. So just understanding like what the decision-making process is like for them and what else would help to supplement the proposal content that you're sending along. I think the other thing too that we're seeing that I'd love to see more of in terms of, creating the opportunity to really understand engagement on our proposals is there's great tools out there with data and analytics to understand, are clients opening our proposal? Are they forwarding it on to someone? Are they downloading it? Are they spending, 10 minutes on page 7 because it's, something that's really dynamic and interactive? All of that data just gives us fuel and allows us to have a really thoughtful conversation about, hey, this is what I'm kind of understanding is a priority for you. Or, hey, you really were looking at that entertainment piece a little bit longer. Can we dive in a little further there? Is there something else you might need from me? Obviously, without, doing it in a creepy way. But I think the value is I'm always here to help and support. And I'm here to kind of help with any questions that you might have.
I love that. Okay, heard it here first. How not to get ghosted
Yeah.
by your clients.
I think the other thing too is I always ask the question on the very first call, like what happens after the proposal? What are the next steps? What is the timeline? Sometimes it's in the RFP, right?
Yeah.
And you have that information, but a lot of times it's sort of unknown, but don't let it be the unknown,
Yeah.
right? Ask the question when you do get that one first phone call. It might be your only chance to find out those pieces of information. So make it all count, right? And
Yeah.
get as much information as you possibly can about next steps, deadlines, who's going to be reviewing it, how many copies do you need, is it going to be forwarded in a way that the format's going to work, do they have firewalls? We've played around.
That's a big one.
We've had a couple of scenarios where we were trying some new different formats for presenting information, and it was like, okay, we put this wonderful dynamic experience together digitally, and then they got a firewall and they couldn't ever open it, right? And it's like, that's the last thing you want to happen. So, really having a deep dive conversation at the very beginning could set you up for a lot of success down the road.
I like that. Communication is key. Always.
Yeah,
Set the boundaries, set the standards up front. Makes things so much easier than when we're all, working on the back end. So then talking through our proposals, what's the biggest thing that you look at a proposal and you're like, don't include that? Don't put that in the proposal. The client doesn't need to know that information, or that's just not pertinent for them.
I think it depends. I mean, sometimes clients are really, they're really receptive to the logistical piece of a proposal. They want to understand, what is the timeline going to look like from the buses loading to them arriving at the venue throughout the evening. They want those kind of nitty-gritty pieces. Sometimes clients want a little bit more high level, or they might really want to focus in on the entertainment. So there's never, I think, a one-size-fits-all approach. I think it goes back to what you said, Cara. Like, you just have to have that conversation really honestly at the beginning of, what are your expectations here, so we can meet those expectations.
Yeah, and I think something that we've transitioned over the last few years in a positive way is the proposal doesn't need to be all about us. It's all about them. So we used to put pages of like, let me tell you about our team and how big we are and how wonderful we are and how creative we are and case studies and blah, blah, right? And it was like, whoa. We just got to page 12 and like we haven't talked about your event at all yet, right? There's a reason they called us. They've heard of us. There's somebody connected the dots. There's some sort of a moment of interaction that already spoke to, to them, giving us a little bit of credibility. Let's save that for that presentation, or maybe like one page at one point. But I think we've done a really good job of making the proposal all about the client, and exactly, what their needs are.
I like that. It
Agreed.
is always about the client. We're hospitality ladies. We get it.
Yeah.
Client first.
Client
always.
first, always.
Some event proposals get approved instantly. Others, straight to the rejection pile. In this next segment, we're breaking down fictional event proposal excerpts to pinpoint exactly what works and what doesn't. Let's dive in. All right, so we're going to break down some fictional event proposal excerpts and pinpoint exactly what works and then what doesn't work. So let's get into it.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, I'll read the first one. Here's our first proposal. We are thrilled at the opportunity to bring your corporate retreat to life. With our years of experience, vast industry connections, and a deep passion for event planning, we guarantee an exceptional experience for all attendees. Our team will work closely with you to ensure every detail is executed flawlessly, creating an event that is both memorable and impactful. Your company deserves the best, and that is exactly what we deliver. All right, I have thoughts on that.
Okay.
You start, Sam.
No.
Give us what you got.
Okay.
You came out strong. You have some thoughts.
I mean,
Let's
I came
hear
out
'em.
strong just because I think saying the ending sentence of the company deserves the best and that's exactly what we deliver, I think sometimes it can come off as we will always deliver like perfection. And I think that's not exactly what we always can deliver because nothing is perfect in events. So I think being able to, I don't know, that last sentence just tweaks me a bit.
Yeah.
So for me, confession, this is what our proposal sounded like 10
Yeah.
years ago. They weren't personalized, they weren't curated, and they were just these broad strokes, blanket promises that weren't really personal at all and really weren't impactful. And like we wasted paper, in my opinion. That paragraph is a waste of paper.
Yeah. I like that ending, the broad stroke promise. That's what I'm meaning is like that ending sentence. It's a very broad promise.
I mean, candidly, I think the whole thing is a broad stroke promise.
Yeah.
And, instead, if you're going to write that many words on a page, have it talk about like why you picked that color and how it works with that entertainment and that tells the story about that message that you're trying to accomplish that's going to drive the results that you're looking for, right? Like really take it to the next level and don't just, talk high level.
I think what's missing is every client has their own goals and objectives as to why they're having a meeting or why they're gathering. So
talk about them.
Talk about them. Put them in the proposal. Say, I know how important it is for you to, talk about your company vision at this meeting, and we understand what it is, and we've done some digging into it, and this is why we made these thoughtful choices that align with that company vision or whatever their stakeholders prioritize.
Yeah, getting to the goal.
Yeah.
Really.
Okay, give us another one.
All right. We will begin event setup at 6 a.m. with vendor load-in scheduled between 6:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. Guest registration will be staffed beginning at 8:30 a.m. and doors will officially be open at 9 a.m. Our team will coordinate AV testing at 8:15 a.m. to ensure all technical requirements are met before the first session begins at 9:30 a.m. What do you guys think about this
There's
one?
so many variables in there
Yeah.
that you can't make those broad stroke promises in the proposal stage.
No.
I mean, oftentimes this is the initial conversation about developing the part of our program that they're involved, that part of the program that we're involved in, right? So who knows if we can have an AV check at a certain time, depending on when we have access to the ballroom or what the production team is going to be set and ready. Like there's so many outliers here. It's too much.
Yeah, that's not content that belongs in a proposal.
No.
That's content
Yeah.
that belongs in a scope of services.
Yep.
And a bullet point, sort of easy to read, not a big paragraph, but that really breaks down once you have figured out all the details. And it is okay to sort of make that promise because you've talked to AV and you've talked to every other vendor that they are maybe bringing in without you or anything else along the way, right? So I just think that proposals are meant to design the experience, and that for me just told you back of house stuff that is very important in the logistics and operations, but not in the sales process.
I will say though, one caveat.
Yeah.
If that was a transportation related proposal development piece.
And
I
that was
could
all we were
see,
providing?
and
Yeah.
that's all we were providing. I could see where getting into that granular could really set us apart.
Yeah.
Hey, we're thinking about how long it's going to take this shuttle to get to, this hotel from the airport, and how long it's going to take them to get back, and how many people we can transfer per hour. These are all things that you're thinking about when you're
True.
doing big shuttle moves.
True.
So, has a place, not for a creative proposal.
True.
Agreed. Definitely. Scope of services, bullet pointed, not so much word salad. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, there you go.
Agreed.
Pass on the word salad. In events, the difference between good and flawless is the ability to anticipate problems before they happen. We've mastered the art of seamless execution, handling every detail, every vendor, and every moving piece so your event feels effortless. No last-minute scrambles, no chaos, just a perfectly executed experience. Head on over to csi-dmc.com and start planning today.
Some event planning disasters sound too outrageous to be real. But are they? In this segment, each of us will read an event planner confession, and the others have to decide, is this a true story or completely made up? All right, it's our favorite time, and I think everyone else's favorite time. Confessions. So we're going to read a real or a fake, and then, of course, you guys are going to guess which
do
one
it.
it is. Let's get into it. A tech company hosted a high-profile investor dinner at a Michelin star restaurant. Everything was set until one of the executives brought an unexpected +1. Their gigantic, untrained Great Dane. The dog wandered the venue, stole appetizers from trays, and at one point jumped onto a VIP's lap. No one wanted to confront the exec, so they all just let it happen. The client later called the event quirky and memorable, which in this case was a very nice way of saying chaotic.
I think that's so real.
I do too.
I had an event like a few months ago, and one of the attendees it was a dog-friendly resort, but one of the attendees did bring her dog to the general session. And a few other, actually, I think she brought him to the evening event too.
Oh, wow.
And so I think I was in this story, so I think it's real.
I think
It wasn't a great date, but it was a big dog.
I think you also like the fact that it's a tech CEO. I feel like, sometimes
Yeah, they're a little-
they're a little bit, fun and free, and they have
their own
ideas
ways.
of
Yeah.
and relaxed, and they want to have a good time, and Great Dane
Yeah,
is a,
We're always trying to make things memorable.
yeah,
That was
always.
memorable.
I think
Yeah.
that, I'm gonna
Honestly,
I'm gonna go real.
The
Yeah.
Great Dane should be the mascot of the company moving forward.
I agree.
That's
I agree.
Way to
That's
do
it. Done deal. All right, well, this one's fake.
Really?
See?
Yeah,
I think I was there for the real version. I'll share it with you more later.
more to come.
All right, you want me to go next?
Sure, go for
Okay.
it.
All right. For a brand activation, the client wanted a signature cocktail that incorporated their company colors. Of course, blue. We all know we get a lot of
Yeah.
company colors, so let's just dive into the blue. The mixologist created a bright blue drink that looked amazing, but nobody checked the ingredients and what turned it blue. Turns out the dye used in the drink was the same ingredient as in laxatives. After an hour, guests started rushing to the bathroom. And by the end of the night, 4 people had to be taken to the ER for dehydration.
Woof.
Not the ER. That's terrible.
No, I think it went
Ambulances arrived at the event.
Not the
No.
ambulance. Oh my
What do you
god.
think?
the ambulance.
The ambulance. They're coming. They were driving. Oh my god.
I think it took it too far with the running to the restroom. That just got a little too. I don't know.
You think maybe there were 6 people that went to the ER before? What do you think?
I think if people are sprinting to the restroom, that's a big deal right there.
I mean, what a fun conversation in the bathroom with the person next to you.
God.
Like, hey, you good over there, man?
Did you try the blue drink? Yeah, me too.
Shouldn't have done it. Never again.
I'm
or
going.
fake?
I'm going fake.
I really like this one. I'm gonna go real.
Oh, it's so fake.
Oh
And
my
I still
gosh.
see how it could have happened.
I mean, the blue
How many
drinks
times
though.
We do serve a blue drink quite often.
So many
Wow.
times.
All right.
But fortunately, we use a lot of the pea flour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
And
gonna
not
say.
And the
laxatives.
blue carousel.
Yeah, laxative's probably not the best. Okay. All right, I have one. Okay. So I was on a site visit for a food tour, hitting all the top food stops, getting a little history lesson, the whole deal. Everything was going great until we made our final stop, where the tour guide dropped this fun fact. There is a piece of the Berlin Wall inside the restroom, the men's rooms, behind the urinals. And what does he do next? He blocks off the men's restroom so that all the ladies can take a field trip into the men's room to admire this historic landmark right there above the urinals. A real classy moment. But the best part of the tour, the beverage portion. We were walking down the street with our guide, and he says, "All right, it's margarita time." And we're all thinking, great, we're headed to a bar. But no, this man whips his backpack around, pulls out a set of plastic cups, and get this, starts pouring margaritas from a built-in spigot on the side of his backpack. So there we are, standing in the middle of the street, drinking backpack margaritas, while he just is casually offering them to nearby people on the street. And we all drink them. Absolutely. Because nothing really says site visit like bathroom history and street side DIY cocktails.
Oh my
No, I
God.
guess not.
I mean, I have to say, I don't know that I would have drank in one of the margaritas. That
No.
seemed a little sketchy to me. I definitely would have gone to the men's room and saw the Berlin Wall for sure, because that's kind of cool. But man, that's quite a way to like really make an impact on a site visit. I think that could have happened.
And who's to say? Is there laxatives in those margaritas?
Yeah. Are they bright blue?
Right? And did they end up booking the tour
That's the
afterwards?
mystery question. What
And
do
I
you
want
think?
to know, like, how is he keeping this margarita mix in a spigot in his, like, how?
There's a lot of logistics
was it
involved
like,
in-
Right?
was it really warm margaritas that they were
and
drinking?
here's my other question too. He obviously does this a lot.
Yeah,
So does
this
he
is not
have
his
like
first
multiple
time.
backpacks on rotation that he like filters in
Right?
and out?
This
depending
one's
on
for margaritas.
Yeah, this one's margarita.
Palomas. This one's Moscow Mules. What's the
Depending on
group
the-
feeling today?
Right? If it's a VIP client, do they get a salted rim?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Little tahini on the.
Ooh, I like
yeah,
that.
Okay.
Maybe. So I don't know. I think it's real, but I'm also like afraid to hear that like somebody actually worked with this vendor again.
Honestly, I love tour guides. They can be some fun ones. I'm going to go real. I feel like a tour guide would totally do this.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
there's
right.
crazy
Well,
tours out there.
you guys are right. It is real.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
so, yeah, I think we learned a lesson today.
A lot.
If you get offered a margarita from a backpack, maybe think twice.
Yeah. I mean,
Or I guess say yes and say no to the blue drink.
yes, exactly.
In our next segment, I'll be tossing up proposal-related ideas. After I read each prompt, we're going to call it like we see it. No safe answers, no sugarcoating, just hot or not. Let's get into it. All right, let's get into another fun segment, hot or not. So let's go through some of our event proposal, hot or not, guaranteeing specific event outcomes in your proposal, hot or not.
I'm gonna go not. I think the problem is like how specific you're getting, because sometimes the event outcomes and desires change throughout the proposal process, and I just think it's too early to guarantee anything.
I'm gonna say hot because I think I don't know. I think sometimes it's a good thing just to outline a couple of things that you're planning on.
Guarantee word I'm having trouble with.
Yeah, that's the word that I have trouble
It's
with.
not
Is
that
we
it's-
can't ever guarantee.
Right. It's not that we're bringing it up. It's that we're making the guarantee. So I think as long as we're bringing up, these are some of the goals and objectives that we have, but we're not guaranteeing them. I'm all in on hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we never know when it's going to suddenly rain and someone has an outdoor fiesta. You never know. All right. Charging a proposal development fee for large-scale events.
So I'm gonna say not. It has been a topic. They've been written white pages about it with ADME, the Association of Destination Management Executives International. I do understand why and how people do that. But I think on that very first proposal and maybe the second too, that is our pitch, and we have to do it. I think if you're looking for a lot of revised proposals and you have not made a decision on your DMC, that's a time to charge. So there's a time for it.
Yeah. I'm gonna say the same thing. I'm gonna say not.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think, and we tried that to some degree in the COVID times. I think a lot of DMCs were interested in this idea of a fee-based proposal development system and understanding the hours that go into creating proposals, but I don't think it really netted us anything. So I'm going to say not.
Okay.
Right. And if,
All right.
our competitors aren't doing it and we are, it's just, it's tough.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
tough to get away with.
Yep.
Yeah. Agreed. All right. Delivering a fully designed event concept in the proposal. Hot or not?
Hot.
Ooh,
Hot all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me every
Steaming up in here.
Yes, that
Don't
is.
miss a moment.
Yeah.
Tell me how every experience is going to go down. I want
Yeah.
nitty gritty because that's going to set you apart.
Yeah. And you know what that's going to mean? Less proposal revisions. If they fall in love with the concept that you're pitching because you can sell them on it,
Because you dove into those details.
you dove into those
Totally.
details.
Yeah, dive in early. You're set.
Steamy.
Very steamy in here now. Okay, gotta relax after that one. All right. Using scarcity tactics like we only take clients that meet a certain dollar amount threshold.
Not.
Hot or not?
I'm a hard no on that. I believe that building relationships with clients means taking on all different types of programs that they might have. And I think that I understand why some people do it, but I just believe that we are in it for the long haul with our clients. We don't want to just do one event for them. We want to do 100. And sometimes that means taking on small ones in the middle.
I'm gonna disagree.
Go for it.
I think it's hot when there is a necessity for it. I think sometimes, destinations have specific busy seasons. There might be other factors that impact the ability for us to execute events, whether that's, other vendors that are putting pressure on us for them to also not be able to take certain programs based on the amount of spend there is. So I think we have to leverage what's happening in the destination and with our suppliers to make that call. So I think sometimes there's a need for it.
And I will say, I'm in sales. That's why my answer is what it is. I know that most of our company probably believes in Ashley's answer more than mine.
It's the other hats that I wore when I also did operations. So yeah.
No, I'm very similar though, because I feel like I'm with how I was entered into CSI, I was definitely given a lot of the smaller programs, and I think those shavings make a pile, and that's how like early connections are made, like you said, and that's small programs that start off at maybe $2,000-$5,000. Suddenly, you make a great relationship. They love working with you. Next year, 10, 15. Next year, 20, 25. Beyond, because that relationship, that's a return on investment. That is growth. That fuels.
I totally agree.
I like that. Okay. Last one. Providing 3 or more revisions for a proposal. Hot or not?
I'm going to go not.
Ooh.
I
was also going to go not.
Okay.
I'm honestly a little shocked by this.
I thought she was going to say hot.
Yeah,
So I was
you guys
ready
need to
to come in
unpack.
fighting.
I believe once you've gotten past 2, you're at a point of really designing the event. And does it need to be a true proposal, or can you get to the point of actually like sending a contract, diving into the scope and diving into the details at that point? Can you just work off of addendums and and scopes, or do you really have to do full-blown proposals on round 3? I don't think it necessarily. If you've really nailed it on round 1 and 2, or even just round 1, you can really be a lot more focused on the logistics and the content, and not. Hopefully, you're not starting with a brand new event theme on round 3. I mean, that's what really drives the.
That is not hot.
That is a hard no.
That is not hot, and that has happened to me. And it was really not hot.
Yeah.
It was a mess.
And it happens way too often, candidly.
Yeah.
So I think, and we get it, like stakeholders and different people are involved, and all of a sudden they, change the direction of things, and you have to start over sometimes. But I definitely don't like to set that as the precedent, so I'm going not.
All right.
Yeah.
I agree. I have nothing else to add. I think you said it.
Nailed it.
Look, we know you're already on Spotify, probably blasting Taylor Swift while you're knee-deep in timelines and vendor emails. So while you're here, you might as well add Event Planner Confessions to your queue. 1 minute you're screaming cruel summer, the next you're laughing or cringing at the event disasters we share in each episode. So head over to Spotify, search Event Planner Confessions, and hit that follow button so you never miss an episode. We promise, no sad breakup ballads, just laughs, rants, and confessions from event planners like you.
Writing event proposals is all about aligning with the business outcomes of the event. So, what if we had to pitch an influencer event for an athleisure brand? In this final segment, we'll give you an inside look at how we think about the proposal development process. This is going to be fun. All right, so next, I think we should get into little bit of proposal development and let some people see that kind of inside strategy session that we would have.
Love it.
If we're creating a proposal for someone. And, as a wellness lady myself, I think it would be fun if we did it for, let's say, brand ambassadors and influencers for a high-end athleisure brand.
Ooh, okay. This is fun.
Yeah. So how would you start brainstorming for that? If you had a client come in and say, okay, we have a 3-day conference, give me an itinerary for day 1, day 2, day 3 that align with, we want something that's wellness focused, that is empowering and sustainable.
Okay. This sounds fun.
I think where I would start is I would start thinking about where we can bring in partners that align with the brand already, right? So where can we lean on our vendor partners that already do, believe in wellness, or do have their venue that has a wellness element to it, or maybe there's a neighborhood within the destination that really has a great, outdoor or unique space that could work really well to lean into the wellness experience. So I think I'd start with that piece and just try to make some bookends to the 3 days so that we can kind of work our way backwards off of the big pieces, the big evening event or the big, if there's a big educational session, for example, that we could have that in a really unique space. Maybe it's inside a studio that exists, that's a really unique, funky studio that has a sustainable element to it or a give back element to it, where we could really start telling the story and allow the attendees to be a part of that story.
Yeah, I think the thing I would really focus on is if these are a bunch of brand ambassadors and influencers, we want everything to be a moment, right? So thinking through how are we going to build in these moments to capture, to lend to those brand ambassadors this opportunity to stand and say, hey, I'm at this incredible event and I'm experiencing this incredible experience and this is why you should work with this brand, right? So whether that is, creating wellness moments but with like a slight twist so that it feels like it's a little bit unique or different. Like maybe it's a yoga session, but they have a live DJ that's like a really popular DJ that kind of incorporates a really different mood and vibe to the event.
Right. Like that recent event where we had learn the TikTok dance as the yoga.
Yeah, the TikTok shuffle.
Wellness moment.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, we did a TikTok shuffle instead of a morning yoga session.
Yeah.
And everyone got shirts and it was a whole thing. Imagine
That's
if
so
we
fun.
did that with this brand, but we used their apparel and we gifted it in a really unique way that made them show up in their outfit where they wanted to, capture the content that they were going to get for TikTok directly.
Yeah, I love that idea. I think the other thing you could do, obviously, they have to have a bunch of swag, right? That's the whole thing. I mean, they want to have all of the goodies, but, maybe it's taking a little bit of a twist on that. So, if they're going to this yoga session, everyone has their own personalized yoga setup with their own, yoga mat, and it's all, customized to them, maybe a blanket, maybe a yoga box, like all those little pieces that they would need for that session, but it feels very personalized to them. And then maybe adding in a gifting element to that as well. So maybe they walk away and they get to pick out a product and have that personalized with their initials or like an ethos or a message from the event that feels very personal to what they're doing. I think that could be really great. I also saw this interesting thing, obviously the new trend in wellness is, there's the cold plunging and the floats.
Oh, yeah.
And all of these other kind of areas that people are diving into, literally, that could be a really cool way to incorporate some kind of less visible wellness opportunities. And how do you do that in a creative, fun way to make it feel like it's a engaging event for everyone to participate in? That could be kind of cool.
I love that. One thing we did recently was a sound bath for clients, and it was a small group. It was about 15 of them, and we had them in this like beautiful cathedral almost. It was just a little bit away from one of DC's beautiful churches, and it was just stunning because it was just breath of fresh air, the sound, and it was one of those experiences that each person went away and just you could tell that there was just a weight off of them. And I think giving those moments to our clients is great because that fuels them. It brings me back to the quote of you can only love someone else as much as you love yourself, and I think that's true with how we work. We can only love our job and what we do as much as we can give ourselves that love. And I think, you know, when we can do that with our clients and do it in a way that fits with their brand, it's so impactful. And they walk away and they say, you know what, I really liked that. I want to work with CSI again.
Yeah, but to your point, like building your whole proposal around some sort of a message that's really going to drive home for every person in the audience that's attending, right? So I think sometimes our clients are really leaning on us to say, what should our full message be, and where are ways that we can continue to bring that message to life in little kind of moments throughout the few days. So I think the location is really important, like you said, the cathedral, or the different types of spaces. I think what happens in those spaces is more than just a picture. It's about a feeling that it gives you that you can then take away and feel differently when from when you started that day to when you ended that day. But I still think you really need to have a beautiful food and beverage and dinner experience too, right? Wellness we did a program recently where we did a full, plant-based, 6-course meal with a private chef, right? So you can take different elements to the food and beverage experience that can tie in to the brand's messaging as well too. But you still need a beautiful tablescape, right? You want them to take a picture of their name on that table, talking about how appreciative they are to be there.
Yeah.
And so,
ooh, what would be kind of cool? Obviously, if you set the message early, where maybe everyone comes with an intention, right? And maybe that intention, they physically write it out, and maybe it's an interactive element or part of the dinner, and they write their intention down and literally bury it in soil and put seeds, and then they use that to plant
into
the destination.
Yes.
So then you have that
Wow.
give back component where they're setting the intention, but they're also doing something that's kind of a team building exercise. They can have that messaging there, and then they also have that kind of give back and that ability to leave their mark on the destination that they visit.
I love that. See, what we did in literally 5 minutes to just start the conversation.
Yeah.
That's what we do every day when we're talking to our clients. We then go back and we have these conversations internally where we drive these curated proposals on their behalf. So
Yeah.
that
Now
was a
my
good
wheels are
teaser.
spinning,
I
though.
know.
I know, I'm ready to, I'm like,
I
can
know
we
we
have
have
this
that
client?
client.
Where
I
are they?
know,
I'm
I
ready
You're
to
know.
have
out
an
there,
event.
client.
Yeah.
And you're an athleisure brand.
And
wanna
you
call
really
us.
want a
We'd love
wellness
to
event.
design this for you.
We've got many thoughts.
Your vendor list can make or break your reputation as an event planner. The right vendors make you look like a genius. The wrong ones, they make you wish you had a backup career. In the next episode, we're pulling back the curtain on how the best event planners build preferred vendor lists. If you want to know how to lock in vendors that make your events flawless every time, you won't want to miss this one.
Remember, every detail counts, every moment matters, and every event is a chance to create a memorable experience. Until next time.